Again, good morning, everyone. We are almost, touch based on all the topics related to framework design, but there are certain topics still pending, like your reports integration, test ng integrations, and we want to build a Docker image file out of this particular framework, and we want to understand why we need to go for Docker and all the stuff. Yeah, we have a few more things pending. We'll try to cover whatever we can today. Yeah, so. And here, if you notice, we have a configuration properties. So we'll come to that because in certain places, let's say in the request builder, we are still hard coding this URL. This has to be removed and it has to be fed from somewhere else, right? And this is still pending. So, but before that, we'll try to cover one more test. Let's say I want to do one more posting. So before that, I'll also uh, go to my JSON server and then run it. Okay.
Amuthan, you are telling like day before last day that we will start working with any of the real-time APIs.
Yes, we will do. We are yet to touch base on the uh,
Okay,
real-time stuff. Okay,
okay.
don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Okay, I'll cover everything. Okay, first let's do the framework design. Once we do the framework design, you should be in a position to do all those things yourself. Okay, don't worry. I will do it. You can also do it. Okay, I'll leave the option to you. Okay, don't worry. So I'll create one more test. Okay, here let's say a post request uh, using external file, something like this. Okay, and here we want to construct a JSON, but this request body, we need to fetch it from an external file. Let's put a new file here, or we can actually create a directory here, JSONs. We're gonna store all the JSONs here, and let's create a file, and let's name this file as request body for now, request.json, whatever. Okay, this is the first one. So let's copy the file because we already have that file there. So let's go there. Okay, we don't have it. Okay, we have this here, test.json. Let's copy this. Now let's come here and put it here. Okay, so this is a request.json. I want to read this, and then maybe this first name alone I want to change it. Okay, so let's go here, and we already have seen the utilities, right? How we can read the file from an external JSON and then replace certain strings. In our case, we want to replace this first name with a new field, and then this ID, maybe I will name it as a number, so that it's unique, because this is already ID. Okay, so in those cases you cannot use it, so you may use a different ones. Okay, maybe it is an integer type. Okay, so maybe I can put it like this, and then so I can put number, something like this. This is a dummy JSON, so you don't have to worry too much about it. So first name and number, I want to replace these two things. Okay, let's go there. And previously we were creating that code, that files dot read all bytes, all those things inside the this particular thing. But if you want to use it in multiple places, I cannot put it here. Don't just create a base test and then put it there. It's also not needed. Okay, only if there is a serious inheritance relationship, go for inheritance. Otherwise, don't do inheritance. Okay, that's without doing inheritance, the code will be really good. Okay, so let's go and create a new utility. Maybe this utility, maybe I'll use it as name it as API Utils, and this is going to help me to. So I make sure that nobody else is extending this class by adding final. And again, I'm going to use private API Utils because I'm going to expose only my starting methods. Okay, so here again we have something called as public. Like I'm going to return a string, read JSON and convert read JSON and get a string. So give the more meaningful name. So write your code here, and here I'm going to do return files dot read all bytes. Read all bytes needs a path, so I can tell paths dot get Okay, this is a string, and this string maybe people can pass it to me. Okay, string of file path. Okay, if somebody is passing me a file path, I'm going to read the JSON file and give them in the form of string. That's what I'm going to do. This is the job of this particular method. Okay, so here I can replace this with file path. Okay, as simple as that. We already seen about all these things. Okay, now if you notice, this going to return me as uh, byte array, so I can do convert to a string. Okay, and then can add exception to the method signature, or you can surround with try catch block. In my case, you can also do one more thing. Okay, there is something called as sneaky throws. Okay, in case of Lombok, if your intention is to just to throw it back to the caller, you can add at the rate sneaky throws. So this means instead of writing throws and then the exception name here, you can do like this, sneaky throws. Okay, so that's coming from your Lombok. If you notice, Lombok dot sneaky throws, so that your code, your method signature looks more neat. Okay, and people who read this code can also understand, okay, it's throwing some kind of exceptions. Okay, okay, now let's go to the post test. And here let's first get the request body before so do that. I'm doing API utils dot get or read JSON and get a string and pass the path. So the path is basically located inside src test resources JSON, right? So I can hard code it here, but so first let's do the hard coding. So guys, in my case, if I type cwd, it will give me system.get property user.dir, because I have created a template for that, so that I don't have to write this whole line of code every time. Okay, so in IntelliJ you can have that option to set up. If I type cwd, it needs to put system.get property user.dir. Okay, you can also configure that the same way. If I have to create a test ng test, I normally type test. Okay, so it will basically give me the template to create a test. I have to just give the name of it. Okay, these are all templates that I have created, so that I can write code much faster way. Okay, you can also leverage all these things. Okay, good. So now src, we have test folder, and then we have resources, then we have JSONs, and then request.json. Okay, so we have all these things. Okay, let's introduce a new variable here, and this gonna give me the resource. Okay, let me name it as resource, so that's more meaningful. And you can also, yeah, so now we have the resource. We want to construct this, so I'll construct this same thing. Okay, in the body, I'm going to pass the resource after replacing the first name and the last name. So maybe I can also do this here. Once I get this, I want to replace the first name string with basically the random utils dot get first name. Okay, and also replace, I want to get the ID and then replace it with random utils dot get ID, something like this. Once you do this, it is basically returning you integer type. So if I want to convert to string, I can do string dot value of. Okay, and then now we can pass the resource here. That's it, guys. So now we have constructed the request body. We are sending it. We are doing the session. Okay, as simple as that. Let's try to see whether it is okay. Okay, so everything is basically working fine, right? Good. And yeah, next we have something like what of the response that we get, we need to store it inside the some folder, so that you can refer it for future references. Okay, we have also seen that maybe I can create a new folder here, or you can in the root directory I can create some output folder and put it there. So let's go to the API utils class, and then I'll tell public static string if store JSON source string as JSON file. Okay, and you also need to mention the path. Okay, file path. And here all I need is files dot write. Okay, this write needs paths dot get. You pass the file path, so this is basically file path, and then I want the content, right? So maybe you can pass the response, or you can pass it as a byte array here. So if someone is passing me response, that is from my address assured response. Okay, what are the response that they are passing? I want to do response dot as byte array. Okay, this is how we have written, right? So that's it, guys. So once you do this, you can add the sneaky throws as well here, and this is of void types. So yeah, all good. Now let's store this response. So we got the response. Now API utils dot store string as response. Show me the path, maybe in the current working directory, something like that. I want to create a folder called as output, and then I want to store this file in the name of let's say response JSON, something like this. Okay, so we have one more thing. So we need to pass one more parameter, that is your response, right? Whatever the response we have, we set it to them, right? Good. So let's try to run it and then check everything working fine. So there is some failure. Let's see what is that. No such file. Okay, maybe it's not able to create the folder file by self. Maybe I do the creation myself. I should. Let's create a directory called as output in the root node. Let's try to run it again. Okay, now everything is working fine. Okay, good. So let's go to the output for directory and then check the response. Yeah, we have the response here as well. Good, guys. So this is all the utilities we have. We have everything here. Again, you can do the static imports yourself. But if you notice, we are again hard coding the path. We don't want to do this. So all our requests are going to be inside that particular folder. So what I can do, I can create a constants and then keep all this stuff. Okay, these things there. Again, these things. Okay, so that we can refer that as a variable. Tomorrow, if you want to change the location, you can directly change it in one place. Okay, for that, let's go here and then create a new class inside com dot tmb dot we can name it as constants dot framework constants. I'm gonna keep if I could have named it as constants, but there are a lot of constants already available in the Java libraries, TestNG libraries, and Apache Commons libraries and other stuff. So we will get confused while doing the imports. So it's better to name a little uniquely like this. And yes, there are multiple ways to implement your constants class. So first one among them is suppose let's say I want to store this path. Okay, this is my JSON path, right? Uh, uh, so we have you can directly give access like public static final uh, request JSON path, something like this. Okay, and then you can mention that path here. Don't give the full path. Okay, just give the path here. You can name it as JSON, something like this. Okay, something like this, and then okay, I need to give this is a string type. Okay, so this is the first way. If you give like this, you can directly access it. Again, in my case, if in most of the cases, we don't need the getters and setters here. But in some case, you don't want to return that based on who is calling. You want to do some operation. In those cases, you can change it to private, and you can add a getter and setter method to this. Again, guys, you can use a static one or you can use a non-static one. Anything is fine. But if you're using a static one, okay, you need to use getters and setters. You can create it yourself, or you can leverage it from Lombok. Lombok, if you add it as a class level, it can only create getters and so this is a function of Lombok. Okay, If it is non-static variables, then okay, it is non-static, then you can add it as the class level. Okay, but if it is static, you need to add it at the field level. Okay, so you can add something like you need the getter method here, so I'm adding it in the field level. Okay, you cannot add it here, so even if you add it there, it won't generate the getter method for you. So that's the problem. Okay, this is because that's how they develop this. They internally use reflection and other stuff to create the getter method for this. So this is how the Java operates, right? So for static variables, you need to add it at the class level, sorry, the field level. Okay, this is first way. Let me also show you guys the multiple ways on how to do this. Let's also name it as request. Sorry, this is my response. So the response is basically my root folder, and then you have output. That's it. Okay, you can remove this. Okay, this is my whole stuff. Now if I go there, and then I can simply tell, instead of all these things, I can simply tell framework constants. Again, guys, there is one more trick. Okay, in you don't have to type the whole stuff. Okay, framework constants, you don't have to type it. Okay, framework starts with F, and then constants start with C, right? So you can just type framework constant. So if you notice, IntelliJ is suggesting F first letter and constant, so you can directly, you don't have to type the whole thing. Okay, these are all the ways how you can speed up your coding. Okay, and then get request JSON folder path, and this is response JSON folder path. Again, the file names is not that good, so what I do, let's go there and then change the names. Okay, I thought it is a final, so that I have given like this, but the getter is a little awkward, so I can name it as request JSON folder path. So request JSON folder path. Okay, and then this is response JSON. Since this is final, I have named, that's the convention to name your final strings, but the getter method looks little awkward, so I just remove them, and now this is fine. And after this, I have requested JSON. Okay, so now you have the path here, only the file name you can give it here. Again, the file name can be dynamic. You can give the file name as your test case name. Okay, you can use reflections here, so that you can give your stuff here dynamically. You can generate it. You cannot hard code the names, right? So method dot get name. So I didn't do the imports here. Let me do the imports from reflect and then get name. Okay, good. The same way you can basically remove this whole stuff, and here you can tell framework constants dot get response folder path. Yeah, and then this is your response, right? Good. And again, you can also name this like plus method dot get name plus this. Okay, you have this, and then I add a slash. Just a minute, guys. You can add a slash after that. I think its slash is already there, so I think it should be fine. Okay, so let's go here and check whether the slash is there. Okay, slash is there. Good, guys. So this is how we can do it. This is the first way. What is the second way? Okay, let's do it with the singleton pattern. Okay, let's learn something new. Okay, I don't know where I clicked it. So
Amutan, like before we proceed, I want to ask that
mhm,
I don't know that like the output which you are generating will be
mhm,
saved in a JSON file.
yeah,
So like I have seen like in various frameworks that they show output in a HTML file, or like we use extend report. So are we going to use it, or
we
like
are going to use it. These are all just supplementary. Okay, extend reports, we're gonna build a very beautiful extend reports. Okay, don't worry about it. uh, uh, it's gonna have all the information like what we have, but this is without connecting to any external report. Okay, all the, even though you write it to some external reports, suppose you want it as a output file, what do you do? right? So in those cases, we are having all these things. Okay, we will do the external report integration, test ng integration, the data provider integration in the coming classes. Okay.
Okay, Muthan. So just like we are using TestNG, so TestNG also have its internal, like it generates an HTML file. So is it generating right now?
Yeah, it is generating right now, but we don't need this because it will be generated in the target folders. Or your if you run it as a testng from XML file, it will create a folder for you, and then it will generate all those things. Okay, we are not yet there, we'll come to that, but for now we're focusing only on these things. Okay, how we can get the response, store it in some JSON file or TXT files based upon your needs. Okay, but we're
Sure.
gonna create a report. Okay, don't worry about it, the report will be really beautiful. Okay, we have generated the report for SOAPy. So same code we are going to use it here. Okay, so I didn't cover that. Okay, so once we cover that, once we cover this particular part, then we go to the external report integration. The next topic is that. Okay, don't worry.
Sure, sure. Muthan, one more doubt
Mm.
regarding the sneaky throws. So
Mhm.
like the sneaky throw will catch every exception and errors, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so it will catch the errors also
yeah.
if there is. Okay, okay. So
See,
like
it's basically you don't have to write your try catch block.
okay.
Okay.
But in try catch, when we when we write, so we define what kind of exceptions we are catching
Mhm.
in that. So it will be handled by sneaky, right?
Yeah, so it don't do any implementation and all. Okay, it's just a simple way. Instead of you do throws and then you do it, you can add the sneaky throws. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Muthan.
Okay, so you don't the method signatures will look more readable than before. That's why we do the sneaky throws. Okay, so let's understand. Even if you want to do it, okay, you can also understand. Let's go here, and this is the place where we done the sneaky throws. Let's pass some invalid names. Okay, let's method name. So suppose this time the method that get name, there is no file with that particular name inside the JSON folder. Okay, here we have request.json, but it actually gonna search for post request using external file, that particular JSON file. Okay, let's see what is the exception it is throwing now. So if you notice, there is no such file found exception. Okay, it cannot find that file, particular file. The exception are all being thrown. Okay, and your whole stuff is your logs are still saved. Okay, but the thing is, you don't have to mention that the throws in the method signature. Okay, that's the beauty about using Lombok. It makes your code suppose sometimes here in this case we are throwing only one exception. Suppose we are reading from database. Okay, in those cases you clutter your method signature with 4 to 5 exception classes, right? So in those cases it will be really handy. As if you notice, it also transfers that particular exception to the caller. If you notice, post is 43rd line. That is the place where we are trying to read from the JSON. Okay, external JSON. So it actually is a replacement for throwing your this thing. Okay, throws IO exception. Instead of that, you can do the sneaky throws. That's it. Okay, you cannot do anything. It's just a way to remove this and then add it as an annotation. Okay, if you want, you can use it. Otherwise, ignore it. Okay, you can still continue to work the same old way. Good.
Great.
And okay, there are a lot of things, guys. Okay, only nobody try to learn all these things. Okay, so yeah, we'll speak about that later, but for now we'll get back to the real business of using a Singleton class. Okay, so I want to name it as let's say for framework constants, I use framework constants with Singleton, something like this. Okay, for now, but you give the full name. Okay, so now the problem with here is like if there are 100 getter methods, I need to add getter for each of them. That's also okay, right? But if you want to do an Lombok at the class level, okay, you have to use non-static ones. Okay, so okay, let's first use the non-static ones. Okay, let's say I copy this whole stuff, paste it here, and remove the static ones. Okay, okay. Once you do this, now if you want to call this, how will you call this from your post classes? Okay, let's go, and let's also make a copy of it so that we don't touch the old one. And now, if you want to make a, so let's name it as, okay, something like this. Okay, I want to read this, and here, framework constants instead of this whole stuff. So FC with singleton, okay, dot. So you cannot do it. So you have to create an object for this. Okay, I create an object for this, new C singleton. Okay, and then dot. Now I'll add the getter method to this at the rate getter. Now I go there. Now if you put a control in space, so you now get request JSON folder path. So this is okay, but every time you are creating an object, okay, every time you are creating an instance for to access this particular method, okay, you are creating an instance just to access a method. Suppose imagine you have 100 fields here. Every time you use it, what you do, you actually create a new object for it, and then for each object, okay, for each object you create, it occupies certain memory in your heap, right? And then that's when the problem comes. Okay, even though Java is very smart, the machines these days are very powerful, but still we need to do some efforts from our side to make the stuff simple, right? And then I can, the only purpose of creating an instance for this particular class is just to access the getter methods in these classes. So if that is the case, what if I can just allow only one single instance of that particular class at a particular point of time, and that is called a singleton. And singleton is basically means single instance for a class at a particular point of time. Okay, this will be really useful if you are trying to make an access to your JDBC connection. Okay, you don't want to miss your JDBC connection. You don't want to have multiple connections with your database. No one wants to do that. So in those cases, you can do a singleton. Don't use singleton with your WebDriver. That's absolutely bad. Okay, singleton is again a creational type of design pattern where we are dealing with creating an objects or classes instance, right? So it's a creational design pattern. Okay, so don't use it in all the places you want. Use it in the places where you want to maintain only one instance of a particular class. Okay, okay, good. So now we want to do that. So how will you do this? I want to maintain only one instance of a particular class. Okay, for that there is certain templates. Okay, so we have private static FC. So you need to give the something like this, and let's name it as instance, and for now let's be null. Okay, I okay, once this is right, and now I shield my constructor. That's the first thing. Don't want people to create an instance for this apart from created by you. Okay, so I am shielding my shielding my constructor, and now I have a public static get method and get instance. Okay, this particular method gonna help me. Okay, so what logic I'm gonna write here? Okay, let's return this, but for now let's do a void here. Okay, what I'm gonna do, if the instance is null, okay, if this is null, if instance equal to null, okay, I want to create an object for that. Then I want to create instance equal to, okay, new FC with singleton. So we are creating an object for this. Once you create this object, it will become stored here. Okay, then if someone is calling, you can do return that particular instance. Okay, now second time people want to call this. Okay, first time it'll be null. Okay, people want to call this, so it'll become it will create a new instance and assign to this particular guy, and then we will return it. Second time people are calling, the null checks will fail. Okay, so it will directly return the already existing instance, because they don't want to do anything with this. They just want this instance to access the getter methods from here. Okay, so this particular code will work absolutely fine in a single threaded environment. But imagine you have multiple threads, maybe 10 threads trying to access this particular method at the same time. Okay, 10 threads. Okay, imagine like that. By the time one thread is doing this check, the other thread would have also entered this other other thread also passed this. So in those cases it will create two singleton. Okay, so there are multiple problems with the singleton, but in our use case maybe you can add one keyword called as synchronized. Okay, this particular keyword, what it does, if there is one thread enters into this method, it will make others to wait it. Okay, though this is not a very good way of implementing singleton, but for now this is enough for us, because one of the operation we are doing this here inside is not very expensive piece of operation. Okay, we are not calling some APIs, getting the response back, we are not making any JDBC calls, not very very simple operations, right? So in our case it's okay to add just a synchronized method here and then achieve the singleton pattern. Okay, but this is still not effective. You can use other ways to implement it. There is double locked pattern, and then you can use enum with singleton. There are other versions of singleton pattern, but I'm not going to dive deep into it. I just want to give an idea that there is something like this exists, so that you can take this knowledge and learn it later. Okay, good. Now this guy is still throwing me error.
Amuthan, one thing, like why we are using this synchronized over here?
Yeah, so I let okay, let's say this without this synchronized. Okay, so who has asked the question? Shailesh, right? Okay. Okay, Shailesh. So suppose
Abhishek.
so okay, Abhishek. So let's say you have 10 threads. You are doing multiple threading. Okay, multiple. It's a multiple threader environment. You are having your Selenium framework, or you are running your REST assured framework in a multiple thread environment. Okay, which means if you are calling the method at the same time, okay, if multiple threads are accessing the method at the same time, okay, without the synchronized block, there are slight chances, okay, they both enter and and pass this particular check. Okay, can you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want that to happen. Okay, if that happens again, it breaks the singleton. Okay, so we don't want that to happen, and I want to make a thread to wait for other thread to complete its operation. Okay, so I want to do this method execution in a synchronized way. Okay, we are going to some bank. Okay, we form a queue. Why we form a queue? We are going in a synchronized way. Let the first person do the job, come out, and then you go. Okay, that's how it operates, right? If you go to a market, it's a non-synchronized way. Multiple people go to the vendor, ask for vegetables and other stuff, right, at the same time. We don't want that to happen. So that's why I have included a synchronized block, so that you know the first thread goes, done this, passes this, so only one particular thread will pass this. Okay, other threads will not pass this check and then directly return the instance that is created by the other threads. Okay, that's the beauty about these things. Okay, when there are setters involved, don't do this, don't do the singleton pattern when there are setters involved. Okay, so only if you are using with getters and you want to access all these non-static variables, okay, in those cases you can do this. Again, the synchronized block is not an effective way. That's what I'm trying to say, because if this operation involves let's say it will take 2 minutes for this operation to complete. Okay, your all other 9 threads have to wait for that time. Okay, so that's when this is causing a problem. But in our case it's not that expensive, and for now this is okay for us. We are not going dive deep into it. So for now the synchronized block is more than enough for us. Got it?
Yes, Amuthan.
Okay, so now let's go to the post test, and now this will throw error because now we cannot access those method directly. So get fc with singleton. Okay, why this can so this is not work. I have not exposed the constructor. So what you have to do, fc with singleton dot, the get instance is basically the method. Okay, get instance is the method, and I am here want get request json folder path. Okay, so you are accessing first the instance. So first you are trying to get the instance. Once you get the instance, you can access all the non-static methods. So that's how you can access it. Okay, now why this is still throwing error? Unexpected token, where you're seeing an token. Okay, let's do this. Okay, good. Now the same way, this is the second way to implement it, right? So if you're confused, you can still work with the older ways, guys. Okay, don't worry about Singleton for now. If these are all extra knowledge, okay. If you want, if you can digest, you can digest it. Otherwise, you can uh, you know just ignore it. Okay. What is the name of that particular method? Good. And let's go there, and then dot get method name. Okay. Which, so this also you can implement like this. Okay. So now we are done with all these things. So let's also learn about how we can remove the hard coding here. Okay, because we have done a hard coding here, this is not good for us. Okay, if you want to change it dynamically, it's not a good place. And you can keep it in the framework constants here itself, and then you can refer it. But I'm not keeping in the private constants, this constants files, because I don't want testers or business users to come and change here. Okay, I want to give them the freedom to change it from the configured properties. Okay, now we need to write the code, and then to read it, and then uh, put it here. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, for that, again, I cannot create this inside the code to read the property files. Don't create it inside the test folder or your post test folder, or create a base test and put it there. Don't do this, guys. It's absolutely wrong. Okay, people are teaching wrong way. Don't do that. Okay, create a separate class for that. Okay, maybe it's part of my utility, so I can basically create a new class. Again, I can manage these classes as well, whatever API utils, factor utils, and random utils in a better way. But for now, I'm just living with it. So let's name this as maybe property utils, because okay, that's more meaningful for me. Yeah, and here I'm also want to do this. Property utils. Okay, now all our intention is to read the content from property file, and store it in hash. Okay. So first problem what I see when I see the property codes written by people, okay, they're reading the property file, but they are making multiple connections. Okay, if there are 100 properties here, okay, if there are 100 properties here, what people are doing, they're writing code in such a way, every time they want to access the code, they will make a connection to the external file again. Okay, that is not a good approach, guys. Okay, what you need to do, you read the content, okay, only once. You read the content only once, and store it in some Java collection. Okay, this is applicable to everything. Okay, maybe your Excel sheet, CSV files, your YAML files, whatever it is. Read the content only once. Only once you have to read it, and store it in some better collections. Okay, there is list, map, list of hash map of list, a lot of available options. Okay, you can use to store into a job. Any information you can store in this particular collection. So don't make multiple calls to the external file. That is absolutely bad. Okay, people are not worried about it much, but as a good coder, you don't have to do it. Okay, so now our intention is to read a property file and store it in hash map, because hash map is basically same. Okay, your configured properties is basically key value, and also the hash map is also key value, right? So I feel hash map is a good collection here. Okay, so we're gonna use that. Okay, so let's write some code. Let's say public static void, and for now let's name this as read property file and store in map, something like this. Give good name. Okay, give good name. Don't give just a read property file or store in map, something like this. Okay, it's not good. Give a more understandable name. Okay, and now I want to write the code for reading from an property files. For that, we are a simple job. Private, you create an instance for this properties class, properties. Okay, from java.utils, and let's name it as properties, equal to new properties. Okay, and I'm also creating the map now itself. So private static map, and this map is gonna store a value key both of same type. So I can do the static import, sorry, the imports here, and let's name it as map equal to new hash map. Okay, whatever. Good. Now I'm opening a file input stream connection. Okay, let's name it as input stream equal to new file input stream. Okay, and here I need to basically pass the path. Okay, for we'll come to that later. And now we also need to do properties dot load in the input stream. Okay, this basically throws in a lot of exceptions. Okay, how good people will handle it. They will let's say I will do this control add exception to the method signature, or you can do a try catch. The reason why I'm using a try catch here is because there is a I want to explain certain things to you guys. So that's the reason I'm using a try catch. Otherwise you can throw the exception. Okay, good. So try catch, and once you do with the reading, or what I also want to do is basically what are the values that we fetched, we want to store it in map. So I need to iterate. So the properties dot entry set, you can also use entry set or key set, um, entry set or key set, and for each of them what I want to do, basically I want to put into the map. So for each of the entry that is coming, I want to put it inside map dot put. Okay, e dot get key and e dot get value. Okay, so this is all good, but these are all returning me an object type. Okay, so the property files, while reading, it doesn't know whether it is a string or because you only put it there, but it doesn't know. So you have to do the conversion from object to uh, string type. So I'm doing that here. Okay, okay, once you do this, still telling some error. What is suggesting? Okay, I know that it is suggesting me you can directly use map dot for each, but yeah, I'm opening an entry set and then do it again. Guys, you can use conventional for each. I'm using for each from lambda expression. This is lambda expression, guys. So whatever the entry that is coming, I'm getting the key out of it. Okay, I'm converting into one string and putting as a key here, and then the value, I'm getting the value, converting to one string and putting it as a value of that particular map. Okay, you can also use conventional way of iterating this. Okay, you can understand this, or should I also explain you the conventional way of doing it?
Yeah,
Madan, I got it.
Muthan, it will be better.
So okay, I'll do it. So let's say for, and then you have map dot entry. Okay, we have map dot entry, and key and object is both of, let's say, string of, it is actually going to give me object comma object. Okay, just name it as temp for now, and this is properties dot entry set. Okay, once you do this, okay, now we are iterating. We are getting this as a entry. Entry means key value pairs, key and value pairs, both are object types, but I want to store it in map. Okay, so map dot put. Okay, I need a key, right? For the, so I need to put key and value. Okay, so let's do a step by step. Okay, first let's get the temp dot get key, and this key is going to return me an object. Okay, if you notice, this is getting me an object, but I don't want an object in a, in object type. I want a string type. So what I have to do, I have to convert this. So using, basically using like this. Okay, this is my key, and what is my object? So this is my value. Okay, now we have key and value. Now we can put it in map dot put key comma value. Okay, as simple as that. You can use like this or this, or you can also use key set to iterate it. Again, you can use multiple ways to iterate. It's all about hash map iteration. Okay, anything you feel comfortable, you can do it. Okay, so for now I comment this. Okay, and let's cut it and then keep it beneath. Okay, I don't want to touch it now. Good. Now once you read all that stuff and then store it here, our job is done, right? Once it is done, okay, this method does its job. If I need some values, okay, I expose another method. This method is very simple. Okay, it's gonna, if someone is telling get a value and then passing me a key of the hash map, I'm gonna simply return them, hmm, return map dot get key. Again guys, again I have used the getter method to access this private variable because I get the control in the getter method. Otherwise I could have simply made it as a public and asked anyone to use map.get. Okay, so this is the reason why we are using private and getter method. Okay, I am exposing this map via this getter method. I don't want people to set some value to this manually, so I have not given the option to set the value. I have only given the option to get the value. Okay, so that's how it is. Now there is a lot of problems here. Okay, anyone can guess what are the problems that we have in this piece of code?
Duplicate key.
That's how map
multiple
operates.
exception.
Okay,
Multiple exception. There is
okay,
only one catch block.
okay,
Like generic
okay,
exception we will get.
yes, that is one good point. Okay, so we will make a note of it, please. Let him. So we have handled it as a generic exception. That is one good point. And what else?
Like filing inputs, the line number 24, both throws are, but we are keeping in one try block only.
Yeah, that's okay. We are handling it generically. That is problem, so we will try to optimize that. And we can also separate this into two try catch blocks. That is also a good approach. That is one thing, but basically the exception handling mechanism can be improved. That is the point. What else?
To load properties, we need to call a read property files every time.
No, so it'll just load it and then store it in this particular properties. Okay, and then whenever we need it, we will access that thing using map.
But read property file will, how it will be called?
Yeah, that is one good point. Okay, again, yeah, I was thinking of, yeah, that is also one good point. We're gonna solve that. So this read property file, someone has to make a call to it, right? Someone has to make a call, okay, to this method, to call this method. Where we put this, we have to create some before suite or something, and then we need to call it. So before the whole project starts, we need to call this, right? Before the whole test execution starts, we need to call this.
We can create a static block to
Okay,
resolve this.
okay, good. You're going step
We
ahead,
need to
but
make sure that it is called only once, not it cannot be called twice or more than one time.
yes, correct. So yeah, good. So you have already made my job very easy. So to make it, to call this method, either I have to create a before suite and then call it. Okay, so that is not a good approach. Since all we are interested is loading up the static data, we can use a static block to do this job. Okay, that is one. Okay, and to avoid multiple times people calling this, instead of writing if conditions and doing stuff, we put a static block. So static block will be executed only once when the class is loaded into the memory. So that problem is also solved. Again, we are handling it generically. To solve that, maybe I can basically introduce new file not found exception catch block here. Okay, if I'm actually going to provide a different implementation. Okay, the reason, you have to separate it, because if you are providing different implementation, in my case all I am doing is printing the stack trace. Okay, so you can also combine this, that's not a big deal. Okay, but what is the problem that I see is, let's assume that you have a important problem. This is the most important problem. Okay, what is the problem with try and catch? Okay, there is a file not found now. Okay, there is a file not found. Okay, because the path we have given is not there. What happens? There is an exception. Okay, it goes to the file not found exception. It brings a stack trace. The program is not stopped yet. We have handled the exception. The program proceeds further, does all the operations. Anyway, it will load over just the, it will have only the null values. Okay, all these things. Next time people are accessing, okay, they calling this get value method. If we are passing some key, that key will not be there, so it will send it back null. Okay, and then it will throw a null pointer exception. So the original exception is basically file not found, but you know, you actually see, what you actually see is null pointer exception. Okay, that is wrong, right? So the original exception is different. And you know, suppose let's say you go to an ATM, you withdraw some money, you're trying to withdraw some money, you're entering correct password, and then you are entering some 2000 rupees note. It is telling invalid account, some wrong password. You will accept that, because if you have insufficient balance, it has to tell insufficient balance, right? It has to throw correct error message. The same way here, the error message, actual error message is file not found, but it has thrown null pointer exception. In some cases, people don't even do this implementation. They just do try catch block. They don't provide the implementation. What happens? You not even know that there is a file not found. While debugging, people spend so many hours because they are not actually logging the correct exceptions. Okay, that is a problem with us. So we need to, that is the first problem, right? So the original exception is file not found, and but we are transversing the different exception, that is null pointer, to the caller method. That is first problem. Again, if you use a finally block, again you can also use try catch with finally. If you use a finally block and then you are trying to close the stream, okay, we are opening a connections here and then we are trying to close this connection. Okay, suppose you use a finally block to close the input stream connection. Okay, close the input stream connection. While closing, you are facing an exception. Okay, what happens? The original exception is file not found, but now this is completely concealed, and you now have the stream closing exceptions. Okay, which is not actually the case. You want to see the file, file not found exception. So that is the problem. You need to cascade correct stuff. Okay, so that is okay. So invalid propagation or incorrect exception is propagated to caller. Okay, that is completely wrong. So first, let's avoid one by one. So first, generic exception, we have handled this. Again, guys, if you're providing same implementation, there is no need to separate them. Okay, let the bigger exception handle it. If you have any specific implementation, do it. Okay, maybe you know, yeah, that's what. If you have any specific implementation for this, you can do it. Otherwise, let the bigger one do the job for you. You don't have to worry about it too much. Now, this is handled, and someone has to make a call to solve that. We will remove the whole stuff and then put it as static block. That's it. It will be called automatically. You don't have to do anything from your end. So static block will do the job. Okay. Now, but still the you know, the incorrect exception being passed. This one, how we can solve this? Okay, there is something called as try with resources, guys. Okay. So let's make this connection inside that. That's it, guys. This we call it as try with resources. Okay, what is this? Okay, if there is a class that is actually implementing, okay, auto closable, there is an interface called as auto closable, sorry, closable. Okay, if there is a class that is implementing closable, then it means you have to, if you are opening the stream, you have to close the stream. File reader opening the stream, and then you have to close the stream. In those cases, to avoid this problem, Java from 1.7 has this try with resources block. If you are trying to access a resource and you want to handle exception of it, then use this kind of try with resources block. What it does is, if there is an exception here, it will directly throw this exception. Okay, so that's the beauty about using try with resources. Okay, so we have solved this. Okay, for now, just understand until here. This is more than enough. Okay, and everything else will be taken care of. So we have solved all these problems with, you know, with the try with resources, static block, and generic exception. Okay, generic exception is okay, guys, not a big deal. If you are providing different implementation, that's okay. Sorry. Any doubts?
Don't we need to put a path in the file input?
Yeah, file
In the
path is
file
very.
input string.
We will put that very easy. We will put that. But before that, I want to cover one more thing. See, we are doing try catch. Okay, we're catching it. But if I want to, I want to close the program here. Okay, I don't want the program to continue, because if there is a file not found, if the file is not found, there is no reason for me to execute further, because the important information is actually found in the property file. Okay, I don't want to continue further and then do all these things. Okay, so actually there is no need to proceed further. So I want to execute stop the program here. What are the different ways to stop a program? You can throw
New
you can
exception.
throw new runtime exception. Runtime exception basically stops your program there. Okay, but imagine we are throwing a runtime exception in a static block. Static block will be executed way before your code starts. So basically you cannot do this approach. Then what else you can do? Then there is something called a system.exit, and then put 0 here, which means it will safely exit your JVM. Okay, so because we cannot throw the null runtime exception, because static block is not, there is no thread to handle it. Okay, if you throw a new runtime exception, there should be a caller to whom you can delegate or propagate the exception back, but there is no such thing here, so we cannot do it. So basically we are doing system.exit 0. If there is a exception here, throw the exception and then close the program. I don't want you to execute further. That's how simple it is. We are using very simple concepts, guys. First understand what is the problem with our code, try to optimize this, you can get your solutions. Okay, good. And now if you want to use this, you can directly go to our uh, where we have keep that request builders. Okay, here instead of this, you can basically tell uh, property utils. Okay, property utils, and then dot get value. Here if you notice, I want to get the value of base URL. Let's go to the config. See again, base URL. Okay, now this will work. Again, there are plenty of chances that people can make mistake in this. Okay, so maybe you can create a enum and then you can solve this thing. Okay, so let's go back to the property utils, and instead of passing a key, let the people pass enums. Okay, let's say what is enums and other stuff. Let's, okay, I think I should rename this. I have used 2 times TMB. Let's create an enums here. New class enums dot properties, something. Okay, some enums like this, and then here you can include that. Okay, so basically this is not a class, this is an enum. So base URL, if you're adding new properties to the config file, you have to add it here. So that now let's go to the property utils. Here people needs to tell property type, properties type. If someone is passing me a type, what I want to do, I want to get the name out of it, and I want to convert that to basically lowercase, and then I need to check it. Okay, I need to fetch the value out of it. Now let's go there to the request builder. Basically here I cannot pass string anymore, because I don't want people to make spelling mistake and then get a null pointer. It's better to avoid that. Okay, so properties type dot base URL. Okay, now there is no way, okay, no way someone can make a mistake here. Okay, good. Just with reading the property file alone, we spend so much of hours, because that is very important. Okay, we need to understand all these things. Okay, good. And now let's name this maybe I'll remove this, and for now, okay, I think there is something wrong here. I need to close this here, then I need to close this here. Just a minute, guys. So I have, okay, so method name is basically getting read JSON. This is wrong. It has to be actually here. So you have the yellow braces here and then the yellow brace here. And then you have this. You don't need to. So you have the place here. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 all done. Why it is still throwing error?
Amudan, line number 64, you have to close.
Yeah, you closed it.
Okay, Amudan, thanks.
Okay. So, okay, here line number 64. Yeah, good guys. So this is a problem with all these things. Okay. Good. Anyways, the same way you can also replace this here. Okay, I have made some mistakes. So let's say you have got this. First, I want to close till here, and then dot method name dot JSON. It should be working fine. Okay, good. So that's all from here. If you want, you can try to run it and then check what's happening. Again, it will throw null file not found because we haven't given the path. Let's also do that. Yeah, we know we haven't given the path. Let's go property utils, and here let's go to the constants. We'll use framework constants here. I'll copy the whole stuff. This is okay. You can do like this, and then in your code, the property utils can basically import that. So this is basically coming from property utils. Sorry, this is framework constants. Framework constants dot get property file path. First, let's try to run it and then see. Okay, it's telling. Okay, you cannot find the request path. That is absolutely fine. Okay, let's go to the post test, and we don't want to append the method dot get name here. Instead, you need to tell request dot JSON. Again, guys, in IntelliJ, you can select this and then put a double quotes. Then it will create the double quotes on the start and end. Okay, you don't have to go to two places and do it. Okay. Okay, all good. So this is how basically we have almost created everything. Okay, the only thing that is pending is how we can run it with multiple set of test data, and then how we can do the external reporting. Okay, that's the two things that is pending. For that, we will need to understand test-ng listener, test-ng data provider, and the external report. API automation is very simple, guys. There is no need of driver maintenance, no need of creating objects. We'll create all the page factories, page methods, page layers, all those complexities, nothing there. Okay, very simple piece of thing. Okay, so try to learn it and then let me know if you have any doubts for now, and you can also post your doubts later as well. Any doubts?
No, Muthan, not regarding this, but I want to ask, like, which Java version are you using?
I'm using 1.8. Okay,
1.8. Okay.
yeah, because I can also use 1.11, but the problem is it's not working properly with the APM. Okay, so that's the reason I have to downgrade myself with the 1.8, and that's okay. You can use 1.11 or 1.14, whatever you feel comfortable.
Okay, Muthan. Like, there are certain functions, let's say if we have to, like, blank spaces and everything, these are introduced in Java 11.
Yes, I know. Yeah, even in the AssetJ library, I can have that is blank. Those methods are there. You can also use var val. So for everything we can mention just val. Okay, it's in Lombok, but it's there in Java also. There are a lot of new functionalities. Even in streams, there are a lot of new methods that been implemented in the latest versions. Yeah, but we are not yet there. I am using it because I have APM. I have to use APM. APM has some problems with 1.11. So I'm not doing that. In your case, you can use it. No problems.
Okay, Muthan. Thanks.
Anything else?
Then when you have time, like, can you show that current working directory template you set in IntelliJ?
Yeah, I found it somewhere in the live template. Just a minute, guys. Okay, so there is something called as a live template or something. I don't know. I forgot. Yeah. So if you notice, this is a live template, and basically you need to select Java here and then expand it. So if you notice, I have added CWD, which means get current working directory. This is the name that I have given, and system.get property user.dat. This is the text I want to do it. Okay. If you even mention, so these things you would have used, right? For main method, you are typing main, and then it is actually giving you this, right? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, for main method, why it is giving? See, because they have written a template here. Okay. For if you type main, it is description is this, and the template text is just giving this, and this is the cursor point where it will leave. Okay, once it generates, it will leave the cursor here. Okay, so this is how if you notice the LOI I have created, this is that live template that I have created. What it does is, suppose I want to showcase something, I want to generate list of integers. Okay, so what I do, I type LOI and then I type it. Okay, now if you notice, it has created list of integers number all these things for me. Okay, I just do the imports alone and it will be done. Okay, so you can create templates like this and then you can play around with it. So for now, I have templates for test. Okay, I have templates for test. I have current working directory. Okay, all these things. Okay, you can easily develop this and then use it in your code. Okay, if you're using that's what you can do this in Eclipse as well, but in IntelliJ you get more options. Okay, again, if you want to do suppose, let's say I'm having something like this. Let's say after this I'm doing s out v. Okay, this means it prints a value to system out. If you notice, it has automatically understood there is a previous variable of name resource, and then I have to print the resource. Okay, you don't have to type it manually, right? The same way, if you're using streams, you have s out c. Okay, which means it will convert into lambda expressions. So all these things, okay, it will do the job for you. You just need to go and explore all these things. Okay, go here and then go to the live template and then explore it more. Okay, SOutM, what it does is, okay, all these things you can see the description here. Okay, it's still actually class name dot method name. Okay, if you want to print the class name and method name, then you can use this. Okay, it's very easy. So this one is the test-ng test that I have created. So if you notice that test, I want to give my own name, so I have used a dollar variable dollar, and then I want the cursor to be here, so I have used a cursor like this. Okay, so in your case, whatever you feel comfortable, you can create more. Okay, it's all of your, based on your needs. Okay.
Thanks, Sanjay.
Okay, anything from anyone? If not, you all have a very good day, guys. What about class for tomorrow? Because I have some work on Tuesday, I may not be able to conduct class on Tuesday. If we can class, if we have class on tomorrow, I will complete the data provider and the extent reports, so that the framework is almost ready. Okay, so you guys can practice for the next 2 days, and then we will have the class back on Wednesday. Is it okay for you all?
Yes, okay for me, Muthan.
Okay. Okay, guys, because I think, like, the framework is hanging in between. Okay, so if I cover the extent reports and the test engine data provider also, it'll be easy for you to also work on that, and for the next 2 days create the framework yourself. And then on Wednesday, if you have doubts, you can ask me, and then we will touch base on OAuth, and I'll give you some assignments. You know, don't worry, you will be in a position to construct the request body yourself and do it. Okay, so we'll also understand how we can go through the API documentation, understand what they are telling, and then based upon that we will do the operations. Okay, don't worry about it. You should be in a position, you will be in a position to construct the JSON request bodies. Okay, I'll push into a pond and I'll ask you to swim. Don't worry. So you'll be in a position to swim. Don't worry about it. Okay. Okay, guys. We will connect tomorrow again, and then see you all tomorrow. We all have a very good day. Bye.
Thank you, Amber.